Dan Campbell just gave an update on Detroit Lions cornerback Terrion Arnold's injury, and it's not something that Lions fans are going to want to hear. It sounds like they're going to be without the former first-round pick from Alabama for a long time. What up, though, everybody? Welcome to Lions Nation Unite. My name is Spencer Exter of the Woodward Heavyweights. I appreciate you being here. Make sure you smash that like button and subscribe on YouTube. Also, give us a follow on Facebook, X, and Instagram. And go ahead and head over to LionsNationUnited.com to get some of the best merch in the game. Again, appreciate you coming in. Make sure you smash that like button now. I wanted this to be a good update. I wanted this to be the Detroit Lions spanked the Bengals. David Montgomery gets 2 touchdowns in his home turf. Derek Barnes comes home and gets the game-sealing sack and safety. The Lions dominate the Bengals, and they are preparing for Arrowhead and the Kansas City Chiefs. But unfortunately, the Detroit Lions didn't make it out of Cincinnati unscathed. Cornerback Terrion Arnold is dealing with an injury, and before we get into the extent of the injury, before we get into what Dan Campbell had to say about it, I think people that were talking down on Terrion Arnold or trashing Terrion Arnold after his performance in Cincinnati are just flat out stupid, if you ask me. If you go look at the tape, if you go look at the numbers, if you go look at what happened in this game when Terrion Arnold was in the game, and I got these numbers from our guy Al. Actually, let me go find it so I can get the exact numbers to show you guys, because it's just kind of insane how good Terrion Arnold was making this defense, how good they were performing while Terrion Arnold was in the game. And you see it with the numbers here. While Terrion Arnold was in the game, 44 snaps, out of the 26 teams that played NFL football this week, they were first in yards per play, first in opponent's offensive success rate, first in EPA per play, first in yards per pass attempt, first in passer rating allowed, first in explosive play rate allowed, and first in interception rate. And the 14 snaps without Terrion Arnold on the field, out of 26 teams that played football outside of Monday night, obviously, which is happening right now, they were 26th in yards per play, 24th in offensive success rate, 26th in EPA per play, 26th in. So they literally went from what they were looking like the best defense in the National Football League to the worst. Like, that's how big of an impact Terrion Arnold had. And I know that he had a couple penalties. He had a penalty that took away a safety and a sack for Aiden Hutchinson, but he also had multiple pass breakups. He also had multiple shots at interceptions, and he also held Jamar Chase, or those opponent receivers that he was recovering, 6 targets on Terrion Arnold, only 3 receptions allowed, and only 28 yards allowed. Terrion Arnold was having a great game. And you can see that's the truth, because when he left the game, the Bengals scored 3 straight touchdowns to wide receivers. It's not a coincidence. Terrion was playing well, and it sucks to see him go out like this, and it sucks to see him deal with this injury, because he put it together for half of the Baltimore game. He put it together for about 3/4 of the Cleveland Browns game, and you really saw him putting it together for this Cincinnati Bengals game, but unfortunately he had to leave due to injury. And here's what Dan Campbell had to say on the update of his injury.
He was man, I just thought he was very competitive. I thought he was calm. I thought he was cool. And I thought this was one of the better games he's played in a while. I thought he was really good. And, we put a lot on him, and I thought he answered the bell. So, unfortunately, he's going to be out for a while. He's going to be out for a long time.
The rest of the season type?
I don't know that, but it'll be a while. It's going to be a while.
So, unfortunately, you hear Dan Campbell there giving him praise, saying it was one of the best games that he's played in a while, and unfortunately, he's going to be out for a while. So, I don't know what the injury is with Terrion Arnold. I don't know if it's a torn pec, if it's a separated shoulder, what's going on there, but it really sucks to lose him. Obviously, with DJ Reed already on the IR, I expect him to be back before Terrion Arnold returns, but right now, you're looking at your starting outside cornerbacks as we sit today as Amik Robertson and the newly acquired Trey Flowers, while you have Rock Ya-Sin and Avonte Maddox as guys that are going to rotate at that nickel spot or help outside if they move Amik back to the inside during nickel sets. We'll see what happens there. But this Detroit Lions defense, Khalil Dorsey, also a good depth piece, injured. DJ Reed on the IR, Terrion Arnold, possibly a season-ending injury, and you've got Rocky Ya-Sin and Avonte Maddox, who are veterans that are going to need to step up. Now, there are a lot of different things that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell can do to address this situation. I do not expect them to make any big moves before next week or even before the bye week, honestly. So if you're expecting them to trade for somebody to go into Arrowhead with a new cornerback one, I wouldn't hold your breath on that one happening just yet. Now, I do think there are moves that can be made. You look at some of the guys that are unrestricted free agents that are out there without a team, sitting on the couch. You got James Bradbury, formerly of the Eagles, former All-Pro, and I know he looked really bad last year, but we need some bodies. You've got Kendall Fuller. You've got Stephon Gilmore. There are some players out there that you can sign and bring in here and that will help you when you look at this secondary and especially that outside cornerback spot. Now, again, I don't expect them to do anything too serious, but if you're done with the unrestricted free agents, like I said, some of the big name ones and some of the ones I would consider would be James Bradbury, Kendall Fuller, and Stephon Gilmore. Emmanuel Mosley's still out there. Maybe the reunition comes back to Detroit and you get that. Other guys like Kendall Vilder and Jerry Jacobs that this team is also very familiar with. And, of course, C.D. Deuce, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, a guy that could help in that nickel spot. Now, C.D. Deuce, I'm going to hold my breath on that one. There are two guys, when I look at trades, two guys that I look at that Brad Holmes could target to bring in here to help you make a run for the playoffs and help you make a run at the Super Bowl. And that is Greg Newsome of the Cleveland Browns and Rick Woolen of the Seattle Seahawks. Now, Greg Newsome, obviously opposite of Denzel Ward, he is not going to get a super big contract from the Cleveland Browns. They're trying to move on from pieces. They're trying to stack some nice draft picks to try to build that vault. They've done a good job of adding young players in the draft. I believe they want more assets to draft more players to help get out from under that Deshaun Watson contract. And I think Greg Newsome is a player that you could go out and you could get. That is a guy I'll feel comfortable with. That is a guy I think that would be the best cover corner on this team if you go trade for him right now. And the other guy is former Pro Bowler Rick Woolen of the Seattle Seahawks. With Devin Witherspoon playing the way he is, Rick Woolen's minutes and snaps have been cut back. The Seattle Seahawks are not looking to pay him a big contract, and he is in a contract year. Ian Rappaport has already gone on record saying a lot of teams believe that Rick Woolen will be available and will be moved at the deadline. Those are two guys that I would absolutely look at if I was Brad Holmes, to bring in some depth, to bring in a guy, not even depth, to bring in a starter. I don't think this is going to happen before the deadline. I don't know if it's going to even happen at the deadline. Now, I think that this is a move that needs to be made. Like I said, with DJ Reed on the IR, hopefully you get him back after the bye week. Terrion Arnold, we don't know the timetable on his return. We don't know if he's going to play football again for the Detroit Lions this year. So I think going out, possibly trading for a guy like Rick Woolen or Greg Newsome would help this team astronomically. And like I said, on top of that, you have a lot of quality guys that are free agents, that are sitting on the couch, that are looking for a home that you could bring in and at the very least get competent depth behind some of your guys, whether it be Trey Flowers or Meek Robertson out there. Guys like James Bradbury, guys like a Stephon Gilmore, guys like a Kendall Fuller. They are available. They are out there. And even a guy like Asante Samuel Jr. is still looking for a home. Now, I know that these aren't the best options. I know these are guys that have been getting turned and burned in their past couple of years. But listen, beggars can't be choosers right now. I would believe that Brad Holmes would sign one of those guys before trading somebody. And if I had to bank on it, I'd say they don't trade for anybody. I think they go with who they got. They're excited to get DJ Reed back when they do. But I wouldn't be surprised if Brad Holmes didn't make this big move to bring in a cornerback to replace the injury of Terrion Arnold. Now, hopefully Terrion can get back and get healthy and get ready to go before the playoffs start. But Dan Campbell did not sound too convinced. Dan Campbell did not sound too enthused about Terrion Arnold and his ability to return to this team this year. So if that's what it comes down to, and you're looking at a guy in DJ Reed who's banged up as well, I don't think trading a fourth-round pick or a fifth-round pick for a Greg Newsome or a Rick Woolen is too far out of the question. I think both of those guys help your defense in spades. I think both of those guys are very cheap and would come to Detroit with something to prove. Now, if you're looking at bargain bin Brad going out there and getting a free agent, I do expect him to bring in a depth piece. I do expect him to bring in a guy before Arrowhead to bring in maybe practice squad, just get some depth, especially with Khalil Dorsey being out, who is one of their favorite subs at the cornerback spot. They're going to need more depth on the back end for next week, or for this week, against the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead. We'll see what Brad Holmes does, but I expect him to bring in a guy soon. And when you look down the road, there are a lot of avenues and a lot of options that Brad Holmes can use and can do to make and bolster that cornerback backfield. Now I know that DJ Reed will hopefully be back, but who says that injury doesn't act up again? And Terrion Arnold, we don't know when he's coming back. I do believe Brad Holmes should make a move, whether it's signing one of these free agents that's still out there or trading a 4th or a 5th round pick for a guy like Greg Newsome or Reek Woolen. I think that's what you need to do when you're in a Super Bowl season. And damn it, you're in a Super Bowl season right now. Brad Holmes is going to address this. Brad Holmes is going to put this team in the best situation to have success. And I believe he can accomplish that by making a pretty cheap trade for one of these cornerbacks that are on the market. Appreciate you guys tapping in. Make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to Lions Nation Unite. I am Spencer Raxter of the Woodward Heavyweights. Give us a like and a follow on X, Facebook, and Instagram. And go to lionsnationunite.com if you want the best merch in the game. Appreciate you guys tapping in. We'll see you later.